How does it feel to be a convicted felon?
Arguably the most powerful alderman in Chicago history, the city's longest-serving alderman, silent as he leaves the courthouse, Edward Burke, guilty of 13 counts in his corruption trial.
Here is how it breaks down. 1 count of racketeering, 2 counts of federal program bribery, 7 counts of bribery, 2 counts of attempted extortion, and 1 count of extortion. We have a team of reporters on this historic court case. We start with CBS 2 political reporter Chris Ty, who has followed this case gavel to gavel. Chris.
That's right, Jim and Marie. 5 years after his offices were raided, 6+ weeks after his trial began, Ed Burke guilty on 13 of those 14 counts. As the judge read those guilty verdicts, his wife, Ann, from behind him came up, gave him a hug and a kiss, but he sat stoically with his supporters behind him. Ed Burke, the longest-serving alderman in Chicago history, is likely headed to federal prison. This is video of Ed Burke entering the vehicle outside of Dirksen Federal Building. Behind him is his wife and his attorneys. He did not speak to the media today. This is a trial that Burke sat largely emotionless over 6 weeks, and after 30-some hours of deliberation, the jury came back with a guilty verdict on almost all counts. We heard a short time ago from the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois about how this puts other public officials on watch.
The public voted Mr. Burke into office, and they trusted that he would be guided by and motivated by pursuing the common good. He betrayed that trust. We are gratified that the jury saw this case for what it was and that they held Mr. Burke accountable for his corrupt conduct.
Ed Burke now joins a list that is longer in the Chicago area than anywhere else in this country. Consider this. Since 1976, 2,100 federal corruption trials have occurred in this country for public officials. 2,100. 1,800 of those have been in the Chicagoland area. Ed Burke now added to that list. For what is next for Ed Burke, we turn to my colleague, investigator Megan Hickey, who has a look at that part of the story. Good afternoon, Megan.
CBS 2 legal analyst Irv Miller. And Irv, we waited about 23 hours for this jury to deliberate. That's really what we were focused on. But now our question is, what are the next steps for Chicago's longest serving alderman?
Well, the next step for him is to go see a probation officer who will prepare what's known as a pre-sentence report, which is a very detailed report to help the judge in what sentence to impose. It talks about personal items, age, health, education, financial issues as well. He'll be asked if he wishes to make a statement at that particular time. I guarantee you he will not make a statement in the pre-sentence investigation. Sometime between this and his sentencing, there'll be a motion for new trial, asking the judge to say, listen, there were errors in this case, either by the prosecutor or by the jury or by the judge. That typically gets denied after that sentencing. And I guarantee you there will be a sentence of Federal Bureau of Prisons time in this particular case.
And I believe that hearing date was set for June 17th. That is obviously several months from now. Why is there such a delay in the federal system? Does it have to do with all that work that really has to go into this?
It's a very detailed report. Frankly, the federal courts are still behind because of COVID. The cases are being delayed over and over again in this building. Typically sentences, hearings in this particular case do take several months. It's not like state court where they usually happen within 30 days. So it's nothing unusual to have June dates in this particular case.
And does he have any restrictions between now and then? We saw him walk freely out of the lobby, get into a car. Does his life change from this moment until June when he has that hearing?
Not really. He's still he is no longer presumed to be innocent at this particular time. He is presumed to be guilty, and that weighs heavily. And although he doesn't have to worry about a jury anymore, now he has to worry about the sentencing hearing.
And I'm assuming the same is true for Andrews.
Andrews.
For Quay.
For Quay. Andrews is probably
not guilty. Yes.
Right now. Quay, same thing. He's looking at. There'll be an issue with him as to how much time he's going to get, but typically in federal court, not a lot of people walk out with probation.
All right, that's it for now. We're live at Dirksen. We'll send it back to you guys.
Megan and Irv, thank you.
We now want to bring in CBS 2's Charlie DeMar. He is live outside Ed Burke's home on the southwest side. And Charlie, what's happening out there?
And Jim and Marie, we are waiting for Ed Burke to return to his home on the far southwest side. As you saw, Ed Burke did leave the Dirksen Federal Building. We don't know where he is going, but as you just heard our legal analyst Irv Miller say, he is allowed to come back to his home tonight. So we are waiting here to give him yet another opportunity to say anything that he wants publicly. He'll be allowed to come back, sleep in his own house for about the next 6 months until that pre-sentencing hearing in June, where we'll hear witness statements and impact statements, and ultimately the judge will hand down that sentence to Ed Burke. So we are waiting for Ed Burke to return home. We saw him leave in a black SUV from the Dirksen Federal Building. His wife Ann in the back seat, members of his legal team as well. And again, we are going to give him another opportunity to speak to the media, say anything that he wants, to react to that historic conviction that was handed down today, guys.
Charlie, thank you. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson released this statement about 30 minutes ago. In it, he says, quote, "Elected officials are responsible for serving with honesty and integrity, with a moral responsibility to their constituents to uphold and abide by the law. In the case that they fail to do so, it is imperative that they are held accountable. That is what the jury decided today."
Joining us now with a reaction to this historic verdict is former prosecutor and current 34th Ward Alderman Bill Conaway. Alderman Conaway, thank you for joining us. What's your reaction?
Well, I mean, the case is clear. You can't do you can't do a public act in exchange for a private benefit, period. I mean, that is what we as public officials are given that trust, and clearly Alderman Burke violated it.
What sort of reverberations does this decision have at City Hall? Are you talking to your fellow aldermen already about this?
Well, I will say, as someone that was a public corruption prosecutor and as a current alderman, I hope that this really ushers in a new era of ethical behavior, of professionalism, and recognizing that, you really can't get close to the line even when it comes to these kinds of decisions.
When you become an alderman, is there somebody at City Hall who says these are the do's and don'ts?
You do meet with
or do you
ethics.
know that?
You do meet, as a public corruption prosecutor, and I think a lot of them are pretty straightforward, that you can't do, most of us go into office knowing you can't do a public act in exchange for a private benefit, even though some have obviously violated that here in the history of Chicago. We do meet with the head of the ethics board, Steve Berlin, who gives us a tutorial on that, or at least he did at this term. I believe in the past, this orientation was oddly enough done by Alderman Burke. Yeah. I obviously didn't overlap with him, but he used to do the new aldermanic orientations. Right. So as oddly as that is.
Yeah, a lot of people have said this is another black eye for Chicago city politics. This is a former alderman. But what do you say to constituents today about the current state of how seriously aldermen are taking their job at City Hall?
Yeah, I have colleagues that I agree with. I have colleagues that I disagree with, but I don't think colleagues in City Council today operate with that level of behavior. This was not a surprise. Mm-hmm. It is very well known on that tape that he said, if you hire my law firm, meaning do a private benefit for me, I will rezone this Burger King. So a very clear, essentially said the elements of the bribery statute there. So this was not a surprise, and I think my colleagues and myself take that very seriously.
You're a lawyer.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue to practice law privately while serving as alderman at the same time?
I don't. In the 34th Ward, we have so much to do, so I'm not currently practicing law.
Okay.
Right. Alderman Bill Conaway, thank you for being with us and sharing your reaction.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Today's conviction marks a stunning fall from grace for Burke, once the most powerful person in City Council. First sworn in 1969, Burke served 54 years in the council, serving under 7 different mayors. He famously helped lead the council wars against former Mayor Harold Washington, and he was the longtime chairman of the City Council's Finance Committee, giving him control of the city's purse strings. His downfall began in November of 2018 with the infamous FBI raid on his offices. He was indicted several months later and found guilty today.